What's going on everyone, my name is Aaron. As you can see from the title above, this video is going to be talking about these 3 best decks that can counter Loki. So I hit Infinite with Loki, however I've come across a couple of other decks from other people, and this is my own deck that you see on the screen right now that I believe is a great counter for Loki. So guys, if you are new to the channel, please click that subscribe button, please leave a like, comment. If you're a returning subscriber, please leave a comment down below, and if you're new to the channel, as I said, please hit that subscribe button. We are going to be doing a subscriber giveaway of 1,000 subs, but I just want you to subscribe if you do enjoy the video. So let's get into the deck breakdowns. Starting off with this deck, as you can see, this is a SANDMAN deck, and if you're wondering why is a SANDMAN deck a good counter, well, let me get into a card by card breakdown for you and explain why. So we have so the reason why this is a good counter is because you know the Loki decks, you're using Loki, using Quinjet, so you have multiple cost reductions on each card that you get. However, if you play SANDMAN, then you restrict them to only being able to play one card, and you can really slow down the pace of the game and pretty much kind of control what your opponent's doing. So with the SANDMAN deck, that's exactly what you're going to be doing. So the lines that you have is either Electro round 3 into SANDMAN round 5, Wave round 3 into SANDMAN round 4, or whenever. You could also slow down the game by doing Wave into Absorbing Man, Wave round 3, Absorbing Man round 4, and then Odin in the Absorbing Man round 5. So from round 3 all the way to turn 6, only one card's being played, and then from there, if you win in the lanes, you could just arrow the card over to a different lane. You could Doom, you could play Leader, whatever you think's best in that scenario you're playing, but with the cards that you have in your hand as well. But you just have to judge on what's best, because it's all dependent on your locations, what hand you're getting, but that's kind of the gist of it. The other way to slow down the game is again to do Wave, but you can also go into ZOLA, so then you're getting 3 power, so then you've got 6, 3 one lane, 3 in the other, and then you can Odin the ZOLA, and that means that Odin will then get put in the wave lanes, making that 11 power lanes, but re-triggering the wave again. So that's the same line of going Wave into Zola into Odin, which is the same as Wave into Absorbing Man into Odin. So you're controlling the game again from round 3 to turn 6, making sure they can only play one card. You also have the possibility of doing Electro into Black Panther, into Zola, into Odin, and then you've got like 64 power in 2 lanes. Having 64 power in 2 lanes, if they're not running Shang-Chi, like if you're playing on Conquest, and you kind of know they've not got Shang-Chi in their deck, then that line right there can be, the power you get from that is incredible. America Chavez is just a net, so you have a consistent like turn 6 card. That's solid power, and especially if you're controlling the game, you just need that power in another lane, just in the one lane, because for whatever reason you can't play in that other one, then America Chavez is the card for you. And Jeff is there for if you're playing Electro, and you get to turn 6 with SANDMAN down, you can actually play, you'll have 7 power, and you could play either Black Panther or Arrow, and Jeff, because nothing can stop you from playing Jeff. And I know Jeff was in the Spotlight caches, so yeah, this is a very solid deck to use to try and counter Loki. Our Loki deck, finally. All we need now is Black Panther. Or SANDMAN. Right. Now we've slowed down the whole pace of the game. Let's see if he continues. Right, we're gonna Zola the Doom. Maximize our power in each and every lane. He's obviously got Jeff from me, which is fine. But I've got 15 there. And he's got his Jeff destroyed. And that is how you counter Loki with SANDMAN. Moving on, this is a deck that came from Binks, and I saw it posted on Twitter, and when I saw it I thought this is actually a really smart, clever deck. So this is the return of C3, and if you don't know what it is, I'll explain to you how this deck works. So this deck is a Cerebro free deck, so as you can see from Cerebro, your highest power cards have +2 power. So the gist of what you're doing is to get all of your overpowered cards to all be the same power. So let's say if you bastard all the cards in your hand, they're all 3 powered. You already have all 3 powered cards already, but it's just so if you can bast the Wasp, so you got a 0-3 Wasp, bastard Jeff, no sorry not bastard Jeff, bastard Mystique, even bastard Cerebro and bastard Magic, just so that you have even more power. And from this, the reason why this is a counter for Loki, more specifically, is the fact that if your opponent gets these cards, I mean, it's not really useful for them. If you think about it, if you really deep down think about it, with the cards that they already have in the field, this isn't going to help. They put down Cerebro, all their power is going to be mixed match, it's only going to be helping one card, really. So you giving them this hand doesn't really help, and you have the counter of, oh, they're just boosting their hands still, Loki's still OP. Well, we have Shang-Chi for that, to destroy their cards. We have Shadow King to set the card all the way back, the collectors who we were talking about, back to its base power. We have Valkyrie to set all the cards there to 3 power. But with the increase of Cerebro, it's ongoing, all your cards will then have even more power. So it's just like a really smart deck. And as I said, the line you're going for is to bast your cards that don't already have 3 power. You'd ideally like to Cerebro into Mystique, and if you can get Magic down, then it's like Cerebro into Mystique round 6, and then Valkyrie in the lane that's getting obviously done in the most, to reduce your opponent's cards back to 3, but all your cards will still be increased because they have the 3 power. You could even do like a little sneaky Magic, and if your opponent's thinking there's going to be a turn 7, you just Scarlet Witch your own lane, and then yeah, you could trick your opponent like that. But Scarlet Witch is a good tech card to get rid of any locations that's helping with your opponent, putting them to an advantage and you to a disadvantage. Scarlet Witch is your person to get rid of that. Killmonger, because there's a lot of 1 cost that they have that you see them playing. This could be really helpful. And again, it's 3 power. Sentinel, just keep boosting those 3 powers in your hand. And I think that's pretty much everything. Same with Jeff. I mean, you can just move Jeff, again, flexible card, fits in every deck. And Wasp, if you can get a 0-3 Wasp, that is perfect. But yeah, really, really solid deck from Binks, and it's really smart. Here we go. We could potentially have a Loki deck. Well, there's Cerebro, just when we need it. There's the collector, finally. Okay, he's snapping. Interesting. I'm gonna Cerebro Mystique left lane. Let's get rid of them too. The aim is to bast them too, but obviously I didn't get it, so it is what it is. Hopefully he's not got like Mystique or someone on the left. I mean, not Mystique. What's his name? What was the play there? Do you know what I mean? That must be a win, right? Now we put that collector back to his original 2. There's Jeff on the right. Bang. That is how you counter Loki with Cerebro free. But this deck is actually coming from Spyro, and its Loki counter is a destroy deck. And he said that when he was playing this, like it worked really well for him. It was like the most consistent deck that could beat Loki, and it could fit into the meta quite well. So this deck, it's your standard. You've got your standard destroy line, which is Shuri round 4 into Nimrod round 5 into final round, Carnage and Venom, or Venom and Deathlock. But you also have the line of Forge into Human Torch, destroy the Human Torch, or if you can just destroy Human Torch straight away, so you can do Human Torch into Carnage and then get Phoenix Force down as quickly as possible. And from there, you'll just then be like duplicating your power as much as you can. Yeah, I mean, it's a really solid lane. You could even potentially ZOLA that as well, but it just depends on what you're playing. That is the other line that he said you were using, so you don't have to necessarily have to use Forge into Human Torch, or just Human Torch itself. You could Forge into multiple men, get that destroyed round 3, and then Phoenix Force and get the multiple man back with 6 power, and then each place that you move in each round, you just add like an extra 6 power cost to each lane. So yeah, it's a really good lane, but you got to keep different lanes open, because he was saying that whichever card that you got boosted most, like you'd want to Zola it into the other lanes, which makes sense, especially if you're using like Human Torch and you get like crazy power. But yeah, this type of deck is used as a counter to Loki, because the Loki decks, you have like, you know, your set cards that you're using, and whatever you get from your opponent, you can just whack them in and possibly like counter your opponent. Whereas this deck, it takes a lot of setting up. Like you need to bring back Human Torch that's destroyed from Phoenix Force, or bring back multiple man that's been increased by Forge with Phoenix Force. You need to be able to have the setup of Shuri into Nimrod into Venom and Carnage. Like, it's not just your typical bog standard deck. It's a lot more thought that goes into using these cards. It needs that cohesion that with just getting it from Loki probably isn't going to do the job for you. Yeah, they may get a Shuri and like a Chavez, or Shuri and whatever card they have in their hand, and using Venom, etc. It's a possibility, but from what he said, this is a really good counter, and I think it would work really well. So the 3 decks you have are SANDMAN, Cerebro free, and this destroy deck, which also has a good game plan with the lines that I just said. So let's snap. Watch, this is the play. We're going to Phoenix Force over here, get that to 12, keep on moving it, and then we're going to Zola it. That's going to be 14, right? Ooh, that's crazy. So we've already one left. And he thinks we're going to play a card here, final round. Holy shit, 46. Crazy. Hey, it was a close one. It was a close one. But in the end, This deck beats Loki. This guy must have had Loki, just didn't play him, but this is the Loki collector's collector deck with the additional of some other great cards. But yeah guys, that is how you counter all of these decks. How you counter Loki with all of these decks. If you're new to the channel, please click the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.